Thank you for joining me again. It's MSM Trauma. I just thought that I would share a pet concern of mine around the filling of the new Z83 form. And I've entitled this Avoiding Frustration, Filling the new Z83 form. What is this form? What is it intended for? And this is within the context of the South African health system as well as the South African application of job. It's known, the current version that is used is Z8381/971431. It's what you use and you feel when you're looking for a government post. And I'm hoping that some of the things that I will share here will make it quite easy for you to fill the form in such a way that you do not disadvantage yourself. The form is clearly available on the government website, but I want to emphasize, read that form clearly, answer every block. That will help you to minimize common errors that are known and can happen with this form. So maybe that might have been the reason why you were not shortlisted. That might have been the reason why you were not called back. I hope with this coming few minutes, you can be able to engage with me. Certainly, when you apply it, you need to specify what position you are applying for, which department, and it should have been an advertised post. So if you leave out the reference number, then you are going to find yourself in trouble. The demographic information as to your names, your identity number, and if you don't have your identity number, then you put in your password number. Those go without saying. When you look at in terms of the race, again, might be important for them to decide in terms of balancing and transformation issue. Please don't forget that. It's a pity that up to this year, the only genders that have been put on this form is a male and a female gender. I will leave that to your own thought processes. When you look at where you are, it wants to know whether you have any disability, whether you're a citizen for South Africa, and if not, again, what is your nationality? Please, you can't say I'm not a citizen, mark no, and don't specify where you're coming from. If that information is lacking, it might be used against you in terms of an incomplete form. They want to know whether you've been convicted, and you have to be clear and provide details if that was so. And what was the issues relating? Is there any impending case that you are facing at the moment? Any misconduct within the public service? And again, you can understand the intention behind this, but every form specify there's no answer, and the answer is yes, it's a yes. If the answer is a no, you must say a no, and I'll show you some of the examples that I've created moving forward. Is there any disciplinary case against you? And in your most recent, was there any case that was pending and maybe you are leaving before it is finalized? All that information is still necessary. And for your knowledge, this is all required on page 1 of that form. If you look carefully, and this is where I want you to look, it will tell you that all information will be treated confidentially. It tells you which passport. It will tell you again which department and what act is avoiding, and it will it's been followed. And it will tell you that this message and this information will be related to the requirements and the post that you are applying for. It continues, and I think this is another issue where people run into problems. Have you ever been discharged or retired from a public service, and we want to know from ill health, etc.? Declare it if that is so and give an explanation. Most experiences, and sometimes when you look around, you realize when it comes, are you conducting business with state or are you a director of a public and private company? This requires declaration upfront. You might be a director on a non-profit organization, specify, because they will look for it, they will find it on your ID, and it will be seen that you were not truthful when you're filling the form. So state it clearly, whether you are making money or you're not making money from that entity, specify and clarify it from the beginning. Then it says, in the event that you were employed in the public service, will you immediately relinquish such business interests? And it is easy and tempting to skip this area. When you have not been employed anywhere else and you don't have other business, at least write not applicable, NA. But the easiest thing is to say, if I was involved in any business, yes, I will be interested in leaving it if I get this public position. Then the next section, again, still on that page, is to ask you, have you had any private sector experience, any public? If you have worked in public, yes, specify 3 years, 4 years. But if you've not worked, please add that 0 that says I have no, or I've got 1 month, or I've got 2 months. But don't just leave this space under private area unattended. Yes, they want to know your registration and for whatever body that is governing you. On the next page, one of the areas that is easily hidden is under your contact dictates and communication. They want you to specify the preferred language for correspondence. Therefore, you must prefer English, Tswana, Venda, Shangaan, but you must write it up plus specify whether they want to be contacted by email or by email and telephone and give the details that are there. The rest of the areas, again, of the languages that you can speak, it's nice and clear. The qualifications, again, list them, especially the key ones that you have. And people, when they do this, sometimes they are happy to list everything here, and they may end up skipping. It's easy to skip this current study. If you are not doing anything right there, not applicable. If you are doing another study with another institution, specify it. But leaving it blank does not do you any service. The next one, you are expected to fill this, and if there is more information about your employment history, it can go onto your CV, obviously starting with the most recent and moving forward. And again, following the reading here around whether, yes, you were employed previously and what happened, and fill it up appropriately. The E and the F will be on page 2, and it still expects you to have your references. Kindly note, the fact that you are supplying your CV is not an excuse not to fill up this point. All the pages require you to initial them lower down. All the second page will obviously need your full signature as well as your date. So 2 pages of all that you are required to do. Just don't skip an area, go through it thoroughly and make sure that everything has been put in and added. And where it is not applicable, rather than leaving an empty space, rather specify that it's not applicable. Let's look at some of the common things that sometimes you may find that they are not helpful, that they are not necessary. So let's look at the first one. The first example, again, have you been discharged or retired from public service? Nicely. And you can use an arrow, you can use a marker, you can use an X. I'm going to use the different ones as we go along. You can download it from the Microsoft, as you can see, and take it moving forward. In the event that you're employed, you've already said no, you've not been employed. But in the event that you're employed, will you relinquish? So even when you did not have a private work, at least the list that you must fill in is not applicable. So this example one is a good example that shows you meticulous filling of all the spaces, including what one might consider that, but I'm not working in private, why should I answer this one? You still have to answer it if you were not working in a private facility. Now let's move on to the next example. The filling is correct, and we come into this section again like the other one and look at more or less what is happening. Okay, so here is a simple question. Have you worked in private? They have not specified if they've ever worked in private. Okay, and in terms of your registration, they have not given when were they registered, etc. So this will become a big no-no because it will not keep you in favor. And as I've said before, and even if you are downloading the Microsoft, which you can do, and here is an example that I've put in, again, if I haven't worked in private sector, I don't skip this, I write a 0. And my other experience in public sector, I specify and I put it as 3. So don't skip areas. It's not about what you think, it's common sense following the logic behind. It's about you making sure that you do not irritate anybody when they are looking into this one. You can sit down and say, but I'm giving them my CV. Why should I go into details about where I've worked, who are my references? I'll just print there, please refer to CV, please refer to CV. Both example 4 and example 5 are quite clear on what you should not do. So you are going to need to fill these spaces appropriately. You are also going to make sure that you fill the area below it appropriately, whether you are mixing a cross or you are missing a mark sign. And then that way you put your name, your qualifications, and I've tried to blacken them out so that they don't disturb anybody. And from that point of view, you are then able to fill up as well the information that is below that area. Let us look at the last 3 examples. Here is an example of, because of filling the form, I might have not seen the preferred language of correspondence, and therefore it is not specified, and it means that my form has not been filled appropriately. And some of these instructions are set for you, and that's why you must read them. Each application must be duly signed and initialed on every page. So if they don't have your initials, they don't have to accept your form. Here is a good example of where somebody did not miss that they must specify their language. They also did not miss. And in this case, again, we're using arrows or you can good access. And that's why I give you examples that are in 2 areas. Now here is a last example. I might find it easy that I put my qualifications properly. I've done everything correctly. However, I forget or I did not read below that where he's asking me about my current study and institution and qualification. I can say to myself, but I'm not studying anything. If I know I'm not studying anything, the least that I need to do is to write not applicable. I can't leave that area. So then it will undo all the good work of all the years I've obtained my degrees and whatever, and it will undo that, and it will end up creating a form that is not filled. So in short, you must make sure it's a correct Z83 form that you are filling. Don't fill the old one. It gets completely rejected. Please don't disadvantage yourself by leaving spaces. Fill all sections on that form. If it doesn't apply to you, write not applicable. Even when you're including the CV, you must include your history of employment, your references, and augment that with a detailed CV. They're not applicable. I cannot say that more than necessary. And be honest on your form. If you know you've got a criminal record, if you know that you are working and you are part of the director for some, even if it's a non-profit organization, declare it up front. It is important for those that will be involved in your information. And I think anything else that you were not able to fill up and there was not enough space, you've got an opportunity to augment it using your own clinical CV that you would have put nicely together towards the end of the process. Thank you very much. And I hope this information from MSM Trauma has been helpful to you.